you like I lost you yesterday, Getting ready to head out on my little walk today, my little stroll, you know. And hopefully it's a beautiful day outside here in San Diego. So I'm about to get. How you doing? Yes, indeed. It's a great day today. Go around to my little favorite spot, hang out for a few minutes, walk back in, get this thing going. All right. But yeah, it's a great day. You know, uh, to be working in the medical field, I see a lot of things, man. I just tell you, oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe the stuff I have seen. It makes you appreciate life. It makes you appreciate your health, your strength. I appreciate all of that coming up in here every day. I know that for a fact. So we're about to have this conversation regarding the craftsman. The craftsman, to talk about who really laid the temple down, who really laid everything out for the temple. I know most of us consider that King Solomon, laid. I would want to remind you to go back for a minute and check out and see exactly who laid it all out. King Solomon's temple. Who laid it out? And going back and taking a brief moment and checking that out, it makes you think. It really makes you think, regarding who laid that whole thing out and how did we get there. So today, just for a brief moment, we're gonna have that conversation. We're gonna talk about King Solomon's temple and who laid it out. There you go. That's a lot better right there. I'm in my favorite little spot, hanging out for a minute. So appreciate everybody coming on. Peace to you. It's just great. Man, it feels good. So look, just for a brief moment, we're gonna talk about who actually laid that temple out. Who laid the temple out? Who really did the work? I mean, we hear about King Solomon so often till we believe that it was all on him. But it was not. I just need for you to take a moment, and if you don't believe me, go back and read the building of the temple before Solomon. Look at what his dad had already laid out for him. I'm just going to remind you about some things. Although King David was not allowed to complete the temple or to see it built, didn't mean that he didn't lay it out. He just wasn't able to see it completed, see it built. So it was turned over to his son. But before that, everything that the temple needed, King David provided it. He provided and told and left instructions on how the temple was to be completed. See what King David did, and nobody really paid attention to it, including myself, until it was brought to my attention. I was like, wow, okay. So King David, upon knowing that he was not going to see the temple be built or complete, had already laid out what was going to be needed to complete the temple, including how many craftsmen was going to be needed, how long it was going to take to complete it, where was the lumber supposed to come from, how it was going to get there, and then the construction will begin. Now, the funny thing is, even before the death of King David and the preparation for the building of the temple, it was King David who actually had already asked Hiram, king of Tyre, to assist with the temple. That's why even when King Solomon asked the other two kings to assist him, they already knew. They already knew what their job was going to be because it was already laid out. King David had already did his thing. He had already laid it out for his son. And the unique thing is that when people say that there was no nails or hammers used in building the temple, if you go back and read it, the fascinating part is that it is what you call hooks or latchets. So when the temple was built in the preciseness for which it was built and laid out, so when they brought in, now mind you, before they did any work on the temple itself, those particular interlockings that there was needed for the temple and the wood was already laid out. It's like a manufactured home. You know, a manufactured home, you know how they bring it to your house and it's already put together, things are already in place. All you got to do is bring it up and latch everything in place. That's how the temple was actually built. That's why they say it was no nails or anything more metallic used. That's why they say that. Because what happened is that at the building of the temple, those things that was needed was done in the quarries. Whatever was needed was done and built before it got there. When they brought it there, all they did was put it up and lock it. That's true. Go back and read it for yourself. I thought that was to be unique because we often talk about the temple and how it was built, but we don't really go into depth with it. And I'm going to share something else with you. There was only one way into the temple. There was only one. Go, man. That's fascinating. When you read about it, it's fascinating. When you read about the fact that there was one way into the temple, and that was coming from the porch of King Solomon's porch, what they call it. Okay? And upon entering upon the porch, when you walk inside, now most of us look at the pillars and we said one on the left, one on the right. That's true in all the sayings. But check it out. I'm going to tell you that when you read scripture in regards to where the pillars were at, one pillar that was on the right, the pillar on the right was Jarkan, and the pillar on the left was Boaz. And now the unique thing about the pillars and how they was placed, one was on the south and one was in the north. That's how the pillars were actually placed. Now, if you don't believe me, go back and read it for yourself and give me a holler. Man, I was like, oh my goodness, really? And then not only that, the unique thing is that they knew it was going to take 7 years to complete the temple, okay? And the temple was built with 3 chambers. Remember what I said? I said there was only one way in. But the temple had 3 chambers and a set of stairs. But there was only one way in. This is why when you look at the story in regards to Hiram-Abiff, the legend, because this is like the second legend. There was the legend of Moses at one time who played in the part of Hiram-Abiff, and now you're looking at this particular Hiram-Abiff legend. And the beauty of it is that as the story is being told, and it exclaims that how when Hiram-Abiff tried to escape out the various gates, he was met with death at each gate he tried to escape out of because there was only one way in. Wow. Thanks, Vincent. I appreciate that, bro. Oh, yeah, man, I really appreciate that. Thank you. For real, though. You know, appreciate it. Appreciate it. I was trying to... Nope, I don't know if I can do that or not. Let's see. Oh, most definitely. I'm going to definitely keep my light on and stay out the bushes. But see, that's man, I seen that. I was like, wow. One way in. The pillars, as we know them, one is in the north, one is in the south. Then, although you may have the winding stairs that is mentioned in the scriptures regarding the building, but it was only one way out. I mean, it was 3 ways out and 1 way in. Read it for yourself. Man, I thought that was fascinating. And the mere fact that everything that was needed for the temple was laid out by King David and not Solomon. Plain and simple. Go back and read scripture. Man. And then what gets me also is that the chambers, each of the chambers gave an access to get out and not in, because there was one way in. Hear me clearly. I said each of the chambers gave access to get out, but not to get in. I was like, okay. So as I continue to read, as I continue to kind of like dissect that and listen, it says the way into the temple was towards the east. So when you enter from the west, off the porch, you came off the porch and entered into the temple going eastward. Hear me again, so you can go back and read it. When you entered the temple off the porch, you was headed eastward. You was headed eastward. That's the way you was headed when you entered the temple. And not only that, as the temple is being worked on for 7 years, with so many craftsmen, all of the parts and things that they needed was made in the quarries. So at the building of the temple, everything that was brought to where the temple was going to be actually built was able to interlock. They was able just to lock in. This is why you didn't hear about the nails or anything metallic, because all they had to do was bring it, lock it, boom, 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 and you're good to go. You're good to go, man. And in reading that, it just made everything really, really, really come to life for me. It was like, okay, it was like a aha moment, you know, and just knowing that how things was actually prepared for King Solomon by his dad, King David. It was great, you know. Everything was built to fit. Now check this out. Since we know everything was built to fit, the roof on the temple was special. And that's because of the type of lumber that they used for the roof of the building. And that was that cedar. If you are into construction, you know anything about lumber, cedar, that type of tree, that type of lumber is the best lumber out there that you can use. It's the best lumber that you can use when it comes to building things, because of where it comes from and what it is. Cedar. It is the it factor. So in going back and reviewing this magnificent temple that was not made, I was going to say not made by hand, but that's another story. That's something different. But that was built, and how it was built and laid out is fascinating. It is totally fascinating. And now that I have a better understanding that the pillars, one was in the north and one was in the south, and how they was decorated accordingly. See, most of us, when we go into the temple, we don't necessarily see the pillars in the north and in the south. That's not how it's done in most Masonic temples. But according to scriptures, that was a pillar in the north and a pillar in the south. That's according to scripture. Go back and read that, man. That thing is fascinating on how the craftsmen was able to do what they did and make them build a temple. Absolutely amazing. And knowing that King David, in everything that he did, although he couldn't see the completion of the temple, he was the mastermind behind it. Oh, you could take that or let it alone. Go back and read it. He was the mastermind behind it. And I know a lot of people say, well, the temple, there was no such thing as King Solomon or King Solomon's temple. I'm not here to debate that. I'm just having a conversation on the mere fact of how this temple was supposedly built according to scriptures, and how a lot of things are written in allegories. A lot of things out of the Bible is written in allegories. If you go back and circumscribe and read it and break it down, it's in allegories. Everything is not literally in the Bible. It's all allegories. And then if you want to take that same temple and apply it to yourself, you, sir, you, ma'am, in the making of you, there was no nails or hammers or anything used. Well, I'm not going to necessarily say hammer, you know. That's another day. But anyway, you know, when you look at that, that's something to think about too. If you consider yourself to be a temple and how you are constructed, and knowing that how things can enter you, you're built just like that same temple. Just think about it. The only way that things can enter you as a temple, the only way that things can enter you is through your mouth and your nose and your eyes. That's the only way things can enter you. But the fourth gate, that fourth gate, things can enter you that way, but it can't, it's different though. And the fourth gate is your ears. Your ears is the fourth gate. And that's a very, 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 very important gate, but it's hardly ever talked about. But if you go back and read scriptures, you'll find out that there was another gate. Oh yeah, you just gotta go back and read it. You know, read it with an open mind and with a better understanding, and look at it from an allegory point of view, not just a physical point of view. And when you're able to bring those things together and look at them for what they're worth, it gives you an aha moment, you know. Because when you look at the human body and you're talking about King Solomon's temple and how it was built, and you look at yourself knowing that it is a construction, it is itself a temple, you know, then you have to consider it. Just as Christ says, you knock this temple down, you lay it down, brother, you raise it up, I'll draw all men unto me. You knock this temple down, it'll get raised up in 3 days. It'll be rebuilt in 3 days, and I'll draw all men to me. You know the scripture. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So when you see that and you're able to apply that to you, yeah, you are the walking manifestation of who God is. Oh, but you'll catch that later. You'll catch that later. But that's the beauty of looking at Freemasonry and then being able to draw out of it and apply that thing to the necessities of life and how things are supposed to be drawn out on your personal trestle board. Because it is said that Hiram Abith, being that it's high noon, everyone knew where he was at. He was in a meditation state. He was at his trestle board. He was able to be, he was there to break things down and make sure things was done in such a way as for the instructions that was laid before him by King David. And then when you go back and read scripture, you'll find out that he was never killed. He never died that way. Legend has it that he did, but he never died that way. Never. Go back and read scriptures. You know, none of the elders that we talk about in scriptures were ever Masons. Never. They were never Masons. Be it St. John the Baptist or St. John the Evangelist, be it Moses, be it King Solomon, be it any of them. They were never Masons. They was just using an allegory form to give you an explanation of some things in life, so you would be prepared in how life, in life's journeys. You know, when it talks about the cherubims and how God spoke through the cherubims when he went in there and what housed the ark, you know, the covenant was housed there in the temple, you know, and how important those things were that was inside of the temple. You know, those things was very important. You know, be it Aaron's rod, be it the manna, what else? The 10 Commandments. You know, actually there are more than 10 Commandments, you know, once again. But those are the things you have to really go back and search and really find out for yourself. Yes, there were more than 10 Commandments. Moses grew up in Egypt, okay? He was brought up in the house of the Pharaoh. He knew magic. He understood the dynamics of an illusion. He understood all of that. But when he realized who he was or who he is, he had to change all of that. He had to like, well, hold on, bro. You know, that's why he himself had to go into the desert. Yeah, he himself had to go into the desert. That's another story too. But when you begin to put all the pieces together, you will understand the whole journey of Moses, the temple, and all of that, because the temple was originally a tent, remember? And King David was like, how is it that I can have this magnificent castle and the God I serve is in a tent? How is that? Remember that by night it was a pillar of fire, okay, and by day it was a cloud. So it leads us to go and to study and to find out about these different allegories and symbols that is laid before us in the building of the temple, and how that helps us, or supposed to help us, in our daily journey in our life. So that's what I would have you to do and go check out, because it's absolutely beautiful. It is that. So look, I know I wasn't able to hang out with you for a long time today, but as always, it is my hope that you're able to gather something out of here. You know, I got started a little late today, and And man, it makes you think, wow, time keep on slipping into the future. That's what that keeps doing. It keeps on slipping into the future. So today, go back, check out the building of King Solomon's temple. Check out those craftsmen who did the work on the temple, and see really what they was all about, what they was really trying to convey in that building, and why it was constructed in such a way uh, to manifest itself, to bring forth everything that is in man. That's what you do, man. Go back and check that out. It's fascinating. Masonry to me is a fascinating organization because of just how it is intertwined in a lot of allegories and symbols. Really, and it's different. It's different no matter where you go. The signs, the passwords will never change. Never. And those there, sir and ma'am, are your true landmarks of Freemasonry. Those are the true landmarks of Freemasonry. Oh, and one more thing, that apron. That apron. But look, enjoy your day as always. And for those who was able to join me, I appreciate you. Be well until next time. Keep your light on, stay out the bushes. Almost got, even I get tripped up. And to my Eastern Star sisters, hey, continue to allow your star to shine bright. Peace and be well. I'm out. How's it going now?